Hey y'all, I'm Jen.
And I'm
Welcome to my haunted era.
where we talk about all things spooky or conspiracy theory or alien or anything just weird. True crime, we love too. So hi,
We love
welcome.
it. Welcome. I hear you double again.
No,
Yeah.
is that me though? Like, how do I? Let's see.
Oh wait. Try say something else.
What about now?
Nope, it was me. I had a speaker on.
Oh, we're good.
I'm
That's
stupid.
fine. No, you're not.
Anyways,
You're beautiful.
I was about to
You're
say
smart.
this is the night of technical difficulties.
That's okay
The-
because Jen's in a new space. So
I'm in a new space. I'm far from the router, allegedly.
No, yeah. Steven used to live with his grandma, and it was a big house, and he like had to get an extender for his Wi-Fi because it
Yeah. I think we're gonna have to get some kind of extender. On my at the last house, we had an Ethernet cable running directly from the router into my office because it was just like down the hall.
Yeah.
But now they had to put the router in our closet, so there's several walls in between the router and me
That
where my
sucks.
office is. Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
not
God, wait.
ideal.
What does your shirt say?
It says, "Does anyone know what to do?"
No, not a soul. And here's the thing, if I may, side
If
quest
you may.
for a second.
Yes.
Okay, so personal stuff. My therapist I've been going to for a year raised her rates, and to the point where I was like,
Oh.
I can't like reason with this to every other week. So I
That
freaked out.
sucks.
But my job offers free mental health care.
Okay.
So there are free therapist sessions with this company called Anticipate Joy.
Okay.
Love. And so I got my first one tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I? So, okay, my previous therapist, she was younger than I was. And
Yeah.
at first I was like, that's what I was searching for because, like, for whatever reason, I always felt the need to, like, impress older people. Like, anyone
Okay.
who's older than me, I was like, I need them to know I have my shit together when I don't.
Yeah.
And so being at this new job, it's a really healthy environment. I'm with a really good team, and they're all older than me. And, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool because I talked to my boss about how nobody knows what they're doing and nobody has their shit together. Everyone just like pretends because I look at him and I'm like, he's the most put together human being. He's got two like high school aged kids. He's been married since like for a really long time and started as an intern there. And he's just been there for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And like, he just seems to have his shit together. Anytime something goes wrong in my house, I'm like, hey, do you have a guy? And he's like, here you go. And he has a guy for everything.
Ugh.
Well, so my AC went out the first week of 100-degree weather in Texas.
Oh.
And so I immediately text my boss. I go, oh my God, do you have a guy? And he goes, here you
Do
go.
you have a guy?
After years
He's
of being
got
a
a guy.
homeowner, he's got a guy. And 2 days after his AC went out. And he was like, I got to call my guy. And I was like, well, that's great because they're great. But then he was like, adulting sucks. And I was like, it does. Tell me more. And I was like, do you have anything together? And he's like, no. I said, do you like know what you're doing? He goes, no. And he's like, nobody knows. And I was like, but not even you, man. Like, you of all people, I thought had it together. He's like, no, I promise you, I don't. Nobody knows what they're doing. And I was like, cool. So all of that is leading to my therapist is older than me
Okay.
by like a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to having like that. But I'm not looking forward to doing all like that backstory work again.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I've been going to my therapist for a year and like I can still go back anytime I want. I can do like check-ins.
Yeah.
I can do all that.
Yeah.
Because like for a little bit, let's try this free thing and see what happens.
Yeah.
But I'm not looking forward to being like, this is who I am. Let me tell you my lore.
I know.
But
That's like how
You know?
when you're on dating apps, which I don't think you've done since you and Steven have been together for eternity.
since we yes.
But in my brief period on dating apps, that was the worst part. Telling your lore to a new person over and over. Not even deep stuff, just like this is what I do for work. This is where I'm from. This is where what about my family. Like just basic shit. It's fucking exhausting. And to have to do that with a therapist, but on such a deeper level is a lot. But it's so refreshing. That's what I've learned the most growing up is that like as a kid, you think your parents have their shit together. And I think my parents are the exception. I really do think they knew what they were doing, like out the
Aw.
womb. They really had their shit together, which I hate them for because now it makes me feel so incompetent that I don't have all of my shit together. Yeah. So me comparing myself to them always leads to disappointment. But on my end, and I don't know about their end, but
No,
just,
they are
you
not
know,
disappointed in you. You gave
yeah.
them like some beautiful grandkids. You
Yeah.
like are
I have a
super
job.
successful. Yeah.
Yeah.
You Yes.
I'm doing the thing. But yeah,
No.
like talking to other adults, or especially around my age or a little older, it's just like, yeah, none of us know what we're fucking doing.
No.
Some of
No
us
idea.
know some things, like have a grasp on some aspects of adulthood.
Sure.
I think we all have a different strength in adulthood. I don't know what mine is.
I was literally trying to think of mine, and I was like,
Yeah. I don't
guess
know that
pay off
I
my credit
do.
card.
But yeah, I think it's good for everyone to talk about how we mutually don't have our shit together.
It really is, because I was afraid of
Like,
older
normalize that.
individuals. I was afraid of
Yeah.
like grown-ups, like, right? But
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, we're all just people, and we're all just like, oh my God, I was like, there's like that whole thing going on, like, be nice to your parents. It's their first time living too. Some
Yeah.
guy on my algorithm was like, okay, but that doesn't negate the fact that it's my first time living. So stop being mean. And I was like, yeah.
That's so true.
And I'm like, if we can all just mutually agree, it's our first time living.
Mm-hmm.
It is our first rodeo. We have no fucking clue. How much better is that? Like,
I know.
No expectation. We're all just
I've never
people.
been 34. This is my first time ever being 34.
Yeah.
Last year was my first time ever being 33. Like, I don't.
First and only time, unless you believe in
First and only
reincarnation,
time.
which I kind of
Which
do.
I do. I believe in reincarnation, for sure.
Do I think that it's going to happen to me? I don't. But I do believe in it.
It will.
I hope.
I believe it will. But you won't remember.
I know, isn't that sad?
I know.
I want to remember.
I know. You should do a past life regression. I really want to do one. They're like $400 though. But I think it'd be.
What is money?
What is money? When you
We
die,
make it,
like, you can't
bend
take
it.
it with you. Yeah.
No, you can't.
What
So-
else am I working
And everyone
for?
talks about retirement, and I'm like, okay, I could be saving for retirement, but I could die next week. So knock
I
on
could die
wood.
next week.
Fucking knock
I
on
know.
wood. Goddamn. Everybody. I have nothing.
Knock on wood.
Wait. No,
Was that wood? Do you have wood nearby?
I gotta get up to do it. Someone knock
You-
on wood for me.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, fuck, what was I gonna say?
Money.
Money. Also, take your PTO.
Oh my God.
Take your fucking PTO. Don't
Take your
save
mental
it.
health days.
Take your mental health. I don't have those. But
Oh.
if you have those, do them. Take
Yeah.
those.
Take your mental health days.
And yeah, take your PTO. Because you never know when you're going to kick the bucket.
For real, I don't want to die and have 75 hours of PTO that I never used. Like,
Yeah, use your
Huh?
PTO. Don't let it roll over. Use it all. Because that's what they're giving you. Your company is giving you that time.
and guess what?
You have to
Fine.
earn it, but they're still giving it to you.
It'll be
So
fine.
fucking use it. That's the hill I'll die on. We're talking about, this is going to be our first 2, maybe 3 segment story.
Wait, what?
This is a part 1.
Oh.
And it's not so much a story.
man.
I went a different direction.
Okay.
So we do a lot of talking about haunted places, haunted people, cryptids, UFOs, etc. But we haven't talked about the tools people use to investigate these places. And I was like, I would like to learn more about a lot of them. And so I thought other people might want to learn more too. So we're
Here says
doing paranormal tools. That's my
part 1.
it's my what's it called when it's like part 1, part 2, part 3?
Series?
Series.
Okay,
Yes.
okay,
That's my
okay.
series.
I was
Part
super
1, part
nervous.
2, part 3. Yeah. So you were so nervous.
I was like, is this the right word?
It was the right word.
Jen, I'm always nervous. I literally asked my therapist once hey, am I doing therapy right? That's y'all. So yeah, I'm always nervous.
I have a serious question for you.
Yeah.
Do you take medication?
No.
It's okay.
But I really probably need to. Like, anxiety is high in this bitch. I also was like, oh, maybe I should do a heart test because I think I have heart palpitations throughout the day because of my anxiety.
I don't think you need to do that.
Okay. But again,
Even as a CVICU, as a cardiovascular ICU nurse, I don't think you have heart problems. I think you have anxiety. Yeah, I'm not going to give medical advice, but as a anxious butterfly, I love medicine.
Oh,
I'm
me too.
fucking pro medicine. It does so much good. Some people don't like putting chemicals in their body and shit like that. Highly recommend 10 out of 10,
And that's something I need to look into. I'm not against it.
I would look
just
into
never
it.
had the opportunity, and
It makes it
making
such a
appointments
difference.
makes me nervous.
It helps with that.
Yeah,
It
I
doesn't
know.
always go away, but I feel, and my anxiety has actually, I think, mostly been cured by depression. Because if you're so depressed, you don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? You no longer have fucks to give about what anybody thinks or anything. So while I hate depression, it has been the best thing for my anxiety. I'm not going to lie to you. If you have no fear of dying, nothing, what's the worst that could happen? Literally.
It's true.
So I don't recommend getting depressed as a means to cure anxiety.
0 out of 10.
It may not work for you like it did for me, but it helped me a lot. But I'm also on a lot of drugs too, so it could be the drugs.
All right, but medicine, yes.
We'll never know.
So I'll look into it. I'll ask my new therapist tomorrow.
Meds first. Meds for sure. Okay, so this week we are going to talk about paranormal tools, and this is part 1. And there's a wide spectrum of tools you can use. There's there's the spirit boxes. There are REM pods. There's EMF meters. There's all these things. But we're going to go basic this week. So we're going to talk pendulums, dowsing rods, and Ouija boards. Because those are also, while there can be tools for divination, which we'll get into if people aren't familiar with that, they're also just very basic tools you can use. So before there were apps, gadgets, or $300 ghost boxes, there were questions and people desperate for answers. Pendulums, dowsing rods, Ouija boards. In part 1 of our Paranormal Tools series, we're going back to where it all started. Hands-on, intuition-based methods meant to bridge the seen and the unseen. What ties these tools together is the concept of divination, using ritual, symbols, and instinct, or maybe spirits, to pull answers from the unknown. So according to Wikipedia, divination is the attempt to gain insight into a question or situation by way of an occultic ritual or practice. Using various methods throughout history, diviners ascertain their interpretations of how a querent should proceed by reading signs, events, or omens, or through alleged contacts or interaction with supernatural agencies such as spirits, godlike beings, or the will of the universe, quote unquote. Dowsing, also known as divining or water witching, is a practice that involves using a tool, typically a forked stick, L-rods, or a pendulum, to locate hidden objects or information. Traditionally, dowsing was used to find underground water sources, minerals, or lost items. In modern spiritual and metaphysical contexts, it's also used to gain intuitive insight or even communicate with spirits or subtle energies. So basically, dowsing is the art or skill of locating what is hidden using physical tools and intuitive guidance. So common tools for dowsing include pendulums, L-rods, aka dowsing rods, and Y-rods, a forked stick. We're not going to talk about the forked stick. No, I don't.
Do you not like
they
it?
have I mean, like, I don't know. I've never heard of anybody using a forked stick in paranormal investigation. So
I haven't either.
But I have heard of dowsing rods. So we're going to stick with what I've heard of. And a forked stick seems a little rudimentary for this. So typical uses of dowsing. Water dowsing is the oldest and most traditional use. Dowsers walk across land holding Y-rods or L-rods and observe movements that suggest the presence of underground water. It has also been known to be used for locating objects or people. It can be used to find lost items, missing pets, or even grave sites. And some claim success with map dowsing, holding a pendulum over a map to locate a person or object. Some practitioners may use pendulums to scan for energetic imbalances in the body, which is considered pseudoscientific by mainstream medicine. Blah, blah. And then we have spiritual and psychic dowsing, which is asking questions of spirits, guides, or higher consciousness, and is used in mediumship or paranormal investigations. This is the kind that we will focus on. So our first object, and I have props, baby, are pendulums. Can you see it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. This is a pendulum. And it is a weighted, as you can see, it's a weighted object on a chain or string used for yes or no questions. Traditionally, it's used in divination to tap into intuition, subconscious thought, or if you're ghost hunting, spirits. The idea is that the pendulum responds to energy or subtle movements guided by entities trying to communicate. Pendulum dowsing, a form of divination, has roots tracing back to ancient civilizations. In ancient Egypt, priests reportedly used pendulums to communicate with deities and gain insights into various matters. The Chinese employed similar tools for divination and decision-making processes. These early applications often revolved around seeking guidance from higher powers or understanding unseen energies. During the Middle Ages, dowsing became prominent in Europe, primarily for locating water and minerals. However, its association with the occult led to scrutiny by religious authorities, notably figures like Albertus Magnus, which sounds like a fake name.
Yeah.
And Thomas Aquinas. Apparently these were notable figures, and I've never heard of them.
No, me either. Akinas sounds like a penis.
Anyways, you're frozen and your face looks like this.
Oh, yeah. Did you hear my penis? I said Akinas sounds like a penis.
No, I didn't hear that.
That's what I
It
said.
does sound like a penis. So Thomas Aquinas were linked to divinatory practices, indicating the pendulum's perceived connection to hidden knowledge. The 19th century witnessed a resurgence of interest in spiritualism. Pendulums became tools for mediums during seances, interpreting their movements as messages from the spirit world. This period solidified the pendulum's role in spiritual communication. In contemporary times, pendulum dowsing is integrated into various spiritual and metaphysical practices, including energy healing, chakra balancing, intuitive decision-making. Practitioners use pendulums to tap into subconscious insights or spiritual guidance. So like we said, a pendulum is a balanced weighted object suspended from a single chain or string. It's typically not made from magnetic materials and is often crafted from crystal. This one I think is, I thought it was obsidian, but I don't know that it actually is. Maybe part of it is inside of it.
That's really pretty.
It is pretty. I have one for you too. I've had it since our first recording and I gave it to you, but you forgot to take it. So
shit.
I still have it. It's okay. I'll put it in the bag with the other stuff.
Okay.
So it's typically not made from magnetic materials and is often crafted from crystal, though personal items like a cherished charm, bead, metal sphere, or even a key can be used. The pendulum is a very simple tool and one that lets the user tune into their intuitive powers. The pendulum acts as a receiver and transmitter of information. It moves in different ways in response to questions. Pendulum dowsing can be used in a variety of different ways. In its most simple form, you can use it to answer questions or aid in decision-making. Pendulums can also be used for healing purposes and identifying allergies. I didn't investigate more on that, but that's curious.
What?
To cleanse and dispel negativity in a room.
Yeah.
To help you find lost objects or pets, to find water or ley lines. We talked about this. So a pendulum works by tapping into your intuition and sixth sense. The pendulum acts as a form of receiver and transmitter from your higher guidance, guardian angels, and spiritual teachers. As the pendulum moves, you gain answers in response to questions. It is best suited to use to answer yes or no questions. Some people describe the way a pendulum works as being like bringing together the rational and intuitive sides of you, the left and right sides of your brain. When these two elements are brought together, you're able to make decisions using all the sources rather than just one of them. From a parapsychological view, spirits may influence subtle energy fields, which in turn affect the pendulum. However, we're going to talk about the skeptical thing, but on this podcast, we will acknowledge the skeptics, but we are on the side of the believing in this. So I'm just going to note it. And then we'll move on. However, it comes up like 3 more times. Anyways, however, scientists think they work via the ideomotor phenomenon. Ideomotor?
The fuck is that?
It's IDEO motor. The ideomotor effect refers to involuntary and unconscious motor behavior. In the context of pendulum use, subtle unconscious movements by the user can cause the pendulum to swing, creating the illusion of external influence. Studies have demonstrated that pendulum movements can result from the ideomotor effect. For instance, research using motion capture technology showed that participants could cause pendulum motion through unconscious finger movements, aligning with the pendulum's natural frequency. Personality traits can influence pendulum responses. Individuals with high transliminality, sensitivity to subtle stimuli, may experience more pronounced pendulum movements. This suggests that personal psychology plays a role in the effectiveness of pendulum dowsing. And I've never heard the word transliminality, and I don't even know how you'd know if you were one of those people. Like maybe if you're just more sensitive to things in general, like you might be highly transliminal person.
Seen that word.
I know. So using a pendulum to contact ghosts is a form of spiritual divination that involves asking direct questions and interpreting the pendulum's movements as responses from spirits. So we're going to talk about how to use a pendulum. Before we start playing 20 questions with Casper, let's set the stage properly. Pendulum work is simple, but you need to do it with respect and a little ritual hygiene. Think of it as sanitizing your ghost chatting tool. So the first and most important thing to do before you even start trying to initiate contact with any kind of spirit is set your intention. You want to, before you begin, you need to clearly state your purpose. Contacting spirits or entities in a respectful, non-confrontational manner. You literally want to say out loud or write, I seek communication with benevolent spirits only, those who mean no harm and are willing to communicate clearly. Like literally don't skip this. Think of it like ghost consent. We don't ghost without consent here. So and then you're going to gather your tools. So you're going to get a pendulum, preferably crystal, like clear quartz or amethyst, but can be any kind. I think it also is whatever speaks to you. I've heard on one podcast, one girl went into a metaphysical shop and one was just swinging wildly. Specifically, like one, they were all hanging up and one was just swinging. And the shop owner was like, this is the one you need to buy.
It chose
like, that's the
them.
one. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So you could go about it like something like that if you're into that.
Yeah.
They also have these. Oh, let me grab it. It's a pendulum. It was literally in the first drawer I opened. Okay. So a pendulum chart like this. So it's circular or yes, no chart marked with responses. So this says yes, no, maybe, wait, rephrase. So you can hold it above the chart. Like there's like a little circle in the center. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you want to like have it over the middle and just kind of when you're doing it, like hold it there and then do that.
Cool.
And then if you're more on the witchy side, you might want to use some cleansing tools, incense, like frankincense or sandalwood are good options, sage, but ethically sourced, and then protective items. Basically, this is all optional. The cleansing tools, the protective items are optional, but if you're lean more towards witchy, a salt circle could help. Some candles, protective crystals like black tourmaline or obsidian. And yeah. So, but also we'll talk about it in a minute, that I think there's something equally as effective as doing all that. But so next you're going to want to cleanse your space in your tool. You can burn sage or incense and just pass the pendulum through the smoke to remove residual energies. That's optional. I think I would do that personally, but I lean more towards that side. But also I don't often do that when I use my pendulum. Mm. So I just like to fuck around and find out. But this is important. You want to ground and protect yourself. So even if you're not witchy, this is good. After setting your intention, I think the best thing to do, and the easiest thing to do, is just imagine a white or gold light surrounding your body. Just imagine it, close your eyes, imagine it fully surrounding you from head to toe, or like a string wrapped around your body, just like a protective thing. It is amazing how much that works. Yeah. And then, so you're going to calibrate the pendulum next. So you're going to hold the chain between your fingers with the pendulum dangling freely. I don't know if you can, I can't see myself. Okay, you can kind of see me.
Yeah.
Or if I can you see better?
Yeah.
All right. So you're going to hold the chain between your fingers with the pendulum dangling freely, elbow on the table. I usually have my elbows like this.
Okay.
And just holding it so I can keep my arms still. And then just wait for it to slow down. And then you're going to ask it to show me yes. And then you kind of observe what direction it goes. So let me see if I can do it. Show me yes. And I don't know if you can tell, but it's starting to move like front to back.
Yeah.
And then if you say show me no, it's moving side to side.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I'll say show me I don't know. And now it's going in a circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just let the pendulum swing on its own. It might go in a straight line, a circle, clockwise, counterclockwise. Just take note of whatever the response you get from the question. This is your spirit Morse code, and it varies from person to person. So one person's yes could be front to back. One could be left to right. It just depends. So, but you want to calibrate it so you know what answers you're getting.
Yeah.
And then you're going to start. So you've calibrated. Now it's time to try spirit communication. Make sure your intent is clear and you're grounded. Start with simple questions to invite a present. Like, is there a spirit here who would like to communicate? Are you from this location? Do you mean harm? Probably a good one. And the rules of engagement are to stick to yes or no questions.
Okay.
That seems simple enough. Wait a few seconds for movement after each. Give it time. Don't rush or get pushy. And if the pendulum starts swinging wildly, thank the spirit in the session and ground yourself. That's not a game anymore. It's a message to pause. So if it just starts going like all over the fucking place, say goodbye and ground yourself. Like, drink some water. Do something else because you're done. Yeah. So you can also, while you're doing this, you can verify the presence, ask for validation. If you're not sure, like, if something is actually there, you can say, can you swing the pendulum faster if you understand me? Can you stop the motion if you're still here? Questions like that. And you can also try confirming details if you find somebody specific. You can say, did you live in this house? Were you born in the 1800s? Are you male, female? That's kind of what I've done with my dolls. I've kind of been like, did you live in the
Oh,
1900s? Did you live in the 1800s? Were you from the United States? Or, stuff like that. And then just start to get more specific as you get more information.
cool.
And then, yeah, you just kind of go from there and see what you get. When you're done, it's important to close the session, and you always close with intention. Say, thank you for your time. You may go in peace. The session is now closed, something like that.
End
Then
it,
either
yeah.
yeah, just like make sure it's clear that you're done, and just always thank them, I think is important. Then either gently stop the pendulum's movement or let it come to a natural stop. And then you can cleanse it afterwards with smoke, sound, moonlight, whatever your flavor, or, But here's the do's and don'ts. Use protection, whether that be just a prayer, if you're religious,
Yeah.
the imagining yourself wrapped in white light. Be respectful and calm. If you start to feel overwhelmed or unsafe, just stop and then cleanse after every session. And then don't use a pendulum in a haunted area without protection. Just definitely take extra precautions. I think it's better to cleanse. It's better to do all those things. Don't challenge or provoke the spirits. Don't be like Zach Bagans. We're
Yeah,
not
no.
ghost adventuring it. We're not screaming at the people. And don't assume all answers are 100% accurate. And don't leave portals open. Always say goodbye.
Yes, close it.
That's
'Cause
it.
then I'll just
Yeah.
linger.
Yeah. They will, because then you're inviting them into your space, and you want to keep that control.
Yeah.
Because if you don't close out, then they don't know they have to leave. So,
And then they won't.
yeah, exactly.
They're
So
malevolent.
next we're going to talk, you did it.
I did. I was
'Cause you can
focusing
read
really
it.
hard.
You did so good. Okay, now we're going to talk about dowsing rods. This is what they look like. They kind of spin around. I just hit myself in the fucking face. But this part kind of spins so it can rotate around.
Okay.
But dowsing rods, also known as divining rods or witching rods, have a rich history that spans centuries and continents. Originally employed for practical purposes like locating underground water and minerals, like we talked about, these tools have found a place in spiritual and paranormal practices, including attempts to communicate with spirits or detect their presence. They're typically L-shaped metal rods, like we talked about, often made of copper or brass. This one is copper. So the history, dowsing rods dates back thousands of years. Prehistoric cave paintings in the Atlas Mountains of North Africa depict figures holding forked sticks, suggesting early forms of dowsing. In 15th century Germany, dowsing rods were commonly used to locate metals and water sources. While initially used for locating physical substances, dowsing rods began to be associated with spiritual practices over time. In the 17th century, Jacques Amer Vernet, that's a French name, and I did not say it French.
Sounded right.
Thank you. A French stonemason claimed to use a divining rod to track down criminals, attributing his success to the rod's reactions near crime scenes. So, yep. In modern times, dowsing rods have been adopted by paranormal investigators as tools to detect spiritual energies. Practitioners believe that the rods can respond to unseen energies or entities with movements such as crossing or swinging, indicating a spirit's presence. Some investigators use dowsing rods to attempt direct communication with spirits. By establishing predetermined movements to signify yes or no, they pose questions and interpret the rod's responses accordingly. This method is often used in conjunction with other tools like EVP recorders to validate findings. So, in paranormal investigations, they're used a couple different ways. For detecting spiritual energy or entities, they can use them to identify energy shifts in rooms or properties said to be haunted. They're held loosely in each hand, and spontaneous movements, crossing, opening, spinning, are interpreted as responses to unseen energy. When rods cross dramatically, it's often taken as a sign that a spirit is present or that the dowser has entered a spiritually active zone. For an example, investigators walking through an old asylum might note where the rods cross, then mark that location for EVP recordings. They can also be used for communicating with spirits. They can be programmed before a session, kind of like you calibrate the pendulum, do the same thing. You just have them say cross for yes, separate for no,
Okay.
or whatever.
Okay.
And then investigators ask yes, no questions to attempt direct communication. And like I said, it's often paired with spirit boxes, K2 EMF meters, or voice recorders to triangulate responses. So you see if you're getting any like audible things as well. It can also be used. Some people also believe dowsing rods can detect interdimensional portals, texts, or ley lines, geometric paths of spiritual and magnetic energy. Locations where rods behave erratically or spin uncontrollably are flagged as paranormal hotspots. Sensitive dowsers claim spirits travel through these paths or linger at intersecting points. So on ghost adventures, dowsing rods are occasionally used to validate other equipment responses and notably used in investigations of mines, shales, and indigenous sites. Now, they also claim the ideomotor effect in relation to dowsing rods. It's also at play here. They can be, people say movement could be due to subconscious muscle twitches, not spirits, and emotional expectation or heightened suggestibility during investigations can influence results. And apparently there's a lack of scientific validation, but we don't need that on this podcast. Yeah. Controlled experiments have shown dowsing rods perform no better than chance when locating hidden objects. And in a 2017 FBI review, the agency discouraged using dowsing to locate human remains due to unreliability. And there's a link for that. I'll put it in the sources.
Yeah.
So there's that. But fuck the FBI. Fuck scientists, except not really. Just in this case. So how do you use them? First things first, you don't just walk into a haunted place waving rods around. You prepare and you protect. Cleansing and preparing. Why do we cleanse anyway? I don't think we've covered this. To clear residual energy and protect yourself before inviting any spiritual interaction. So burning sage or incense. You can also ring a bell 3 times. Sometimes that can clear the energy. It's an easy way to do it. And then you hold your hot rods in your hand and say, like, these rods are a tool for truth. I ask that only benevolent spirits of light communicate through them. Something similar to what we did with the pendulum. And then you got to learn the rod movements. So before you get spooky with your questions, you have to calibrate. Hold one rod loosely in each hand like this, about shoulder width apart. Elbows should be tucked into your sides like a T-Rex. Usually when I do it, my arms get really tired because I'm trying to be super still.
Yeah.
But you want the rods to move freely, but not wobbly. So you're going to ask aloud, say, show me yes, and wait and observe how the rods move. So let's see if it does it. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay. Show me yes. So they cross. Okay. Now show me no. Show me no. Sometimes it takes a second. So, and then you're going to ask it. Okay, it's not doing anything and I don't have time to wait. So then you can ask it to show me uncertain or unclear. Sometimes I've noticed with dowsing rods versus a pendulum, their reaction time can be a little bit longer. Like it could take longer. And I don't know if it's just because they're bigger and they have to move more. Or I think it also depends on the spirit you're communicating with.
Those rods.
Because some I've noticed, and I'll tell you a story in a minute, but like sometimes they just aren't as responsive or as quickly. But then you can also ask them to show me uncertain or unclear, like before, and just kind of note what it does. So repeat this at each location you're investigating, as answers might shift slightly depending on the energy in the space. Okay. And just watch what they do. Everyone's rods move a little differently. Mine typically cross for yes and swing outward for no, but yours might spin like a weirdo, and that's fine. So you're going to start with a location sweep. If you are going into a space where there is, like you're investigating a large space where you're not sure where paranormal activity is, you could do a location sweep to locate potential paranormal hotspots or areas of spiritual energy. Just walk slowly with the rods held steady in front of you. Watch for crossing rods, often interpreted as detecting energy or presence. One rod pointing could indicate a direction or movement. So mark locations with unusual activity for further EVP or spirit box work. And then now comes the wild part. You can ask spirits questions. The key is to keep it simple. Yes or no only. Same rules as the pendulum. Sure. Set your intention. I welcome any spirit who wishes to communicate respectfully. Very important. And then ask clear yes or no questions, waiting a few seconds. Actually, I would say more than a few seconds for a clear rod movement. Don't rush. If they cross, open, or point, that's your answer. If nothing happens, that's an answer too. So you can ask, is there someone here with us? Do you live in this house? Are you trying to communicate something important? Just use a calm, neutral tone and avoid rapid fire questions. And let's be real. If you're serious about ghost hunting, you want backup. If the rods say a spirit's in the hallway, whip out the EMF meter. Try capturing an EVP with a digital voice recorder. Dowsing rods are great for narrowing in on where to point your other equipment. And obviously, we haven't gotten into the high tech. We're doing low tech today. So the high tech stuff, the EMF meter will check for electromagnetic anomalies. A spirit box will capture potential audio responses. And then you could also use a digital thermometer to check for cold spots if you can't feel it, if it's not perceptive. So same with the pendulum. Don't just walk away. Always close the session. Say thank you for communicating. You may go in peace. The session is now closed. Then cleanse again. Light incense. Say a prayer. Take a deep breath. Spirits deserve closure, and so do you. Yeah. So swing the rods gently apart to symbolically close the channel. So do's and don'ts. Be calm, respectful, open. Use rods as one tool among many. Trust your intuition. Ground yourself after. And then don't demand or provoke spirits. We're not Zach Bagans. Don't rely only on dowsing for conclusions. And don't ignore your safety instincts. If something feels wrong, it's wrong. So just end the session. And then, like we said before, and I'll say it 100 more times, don't leave a session open-ended. Close that bitch. And the last one, a Ouija board. I don't think I need to get my Ouija board out for this one. I think we all know what a Ouija board is, what it looks like, especially if you're listening to this podcast. But the Ouija, also known as a Ouija board, spirit board, talking board, or witch board, is a flat board marked with the letters of the Latin alphabet. The numbers 0 through 9, the words yes, no, and occasionally hello and goodbye, along with various symbols and graphics. It uses a planchette, a small heart-shaped piece of wood or plastic, as a movable indicator to spell out messages during a seance. Participants place their fingers on the planchette and is moved about the board to spell out words. So a brief history of the Ouija board. Spiritualism, a movement that believed in communicating with the dead, gained momentum in the 80s. People began experimenting with methods to contact spirits, automatic writing, table turning, and eventually talking boards. Elijah Bond filed the first Ouija board patent in 1891. The board featured the now familiar layout, yes, no, the alphabet, and numbers. Charles Kinnard and Helen Peters, a medium, helped name it Ouija, which the board itself allegedly spelled out. So yeah, apparently the board named itself.
Well, I never knew that.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. William Fuld took over production and turned the board into a commercial hit, marketing it as both a spooky spiritual device and a wholesome family game. Ironically, he died after falling from a factory roof when he claimed the board told him to build. So that's kind of sus. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, that's fucked up.
That's so weird. Paranormal investigators began using Ouija boards in the early 20th century during seances to try to make contact with spirits. The idea is that spirits guide the planchette across the board to spell out messages. It's often part of broader ghost hunting rituals. So it has a controversial reputation. Believers think it's a spiritual communication tool. Skeptics say it's the ideomotor effect again, subconscious muscular movement. That shit again. And then religions like Christianity warn against using the board, citing demonic risks. And this sentiment gained traction after The Exorcist movie came out in 1973.
That's why my mama won't let me have one. And my husband won't let me have one.
I'm going to buy you one too, baby. I got you.
Baby.
So in modern paranormal shows, it's been seen on shows like Ghost Adventures, and BuzzFeed Unsolved, often during investigations of reputedly haunted locations. So how do you use the Ouija board? Step 1, you're going to set the stage. First, you need the right environment. The board itself isn't magic, your energy is. So dim the lights, light a candle or two. You want a calm, neutral atmosphere, not fear, not giggles. Respect is key here because intention sets the tone for what you might contact. Like, for real. Like the time fucking Clint.
What's up, demons? Or what did he say?
Hey, demons, it's your boy, Clint.
Your boy.
God damn it. So
that made Steven laugh really hard. It's your boy.
It's wild. It's your boy. I cannot. So, and yes, always choose a quiet, private place, somewhere you won't be interrupted. You don't want your roommate busting in mid-message from Aunt Mildred, okay? So the Ouija board works best with 2 or more participants. Each person should gently rest 2 fingers on the planchette. Don't press, just a light resting touch. You're not forcing it, you're guiding it, or being guided. Take a breath together, focus your attention, and ask the first question clearly. You're going to start with something simple. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak with us? Or what is your name? We don't have to stick to yes or no here because we got the letters and the numbers. So be polite, be clear, don't ask threatening or disrespectful questions. This isn't a horror movie audition, it's a communication tool. And don't rush the board. Sometimes spirits are slow, sometimes they don't show up at all. That's okay. Silence can be just as meaningful. So what not to do? A few things to never do during a Ouija session. Never play alone. I violated that rule. I will say. Some people do play alone, but it's best not to. Don't ask about death dates, yours or anyone else's.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't use it in graveyards, hospitals, or places charged with tragedy unless you truly know what you're doing. I would never do that. I've broken 2 of these rules. Use it in a hospital, and I've played alone. And never ever forget to say goodbye. You open the door, so you close it. Period.
Correct.
So, yeah, like I said, close the door. When you're done, even if nothing happens, you must say goodbye. Even if nothing happens, you must say goodbye. I'll say it again. Even if nothing happens, you must say goodbye. Move the planchette to goodbye. Literally, say it out loud, move it to goodbye. Thank any spirits who came through and firmly state the session is closed. This isn't superstition, it's spiritual hygiene. You open the door, you close it. So there are several red flags specific to the Ouija board we need to look out for, and I'm almost done here. I know this ended up being long. So the appearance of Zozo. Who is Zozo? Allegedly, a malevolent entity often contacted via Ouija boards. Some say he's a demon or she. I don't know. They're a demon. It's Pride Month, so I don't want to assume anyone's pronouns. But the red flag signs are the planchette will start spelling Z-O-Z-O, Z-A-Z-A, Z-O, O-Z, or repetitive zigzag patterns between Z and O. Users report feelings of dread, nausea, or extreme fear. So the advice is to end the session immediately and say goodbye. Do not engage further. Don't do it.
Oh,
straight up don't.
Like, do you have to say bye?
Yeah.
I guess you have to say bye.
You have to say goodbye. Say goodbye in the session.
Do you say goodbye and use their name or no?
No, don't say their name.
Don't say it. Okay.
Just say, okay, we're done here. Goodbye. Planchette on the goodbye and leave. Go ground yourself. Yeah. Another red flag is rapid figure eights or endless circles. This movement is often interpreted as a spirit trying to build energy or break through. It can indicate a strong or agitated presence, possibly not friendly. Our advice is to stay calm and consider closing the session if it continues without clear answers. So just like, that's a red flag, see what happens, but end. Another red flag is the planchette moving too quickly or aggressively, especially if it starts slamming into letters or flying off the board. The possible meanings is that it's an overpowering entity or intense subconscious energy. So in the session, always maintain control and calm energy. A refusal to say goodbye. If the planchette avoids goodbye or moves away when you try to close the session. And the paranormal theory is that some spirits don't want the session to end, or worse, they are trying to stay connected. So be firm, state verbally that the session is over, physically move the planchette to goodbye. You're in control. You are the person. So if you get contradictory or confusing answers, spirits that lie, contradict themselves, or give strange gibberish answers are possibly trickster spirits, fragmented energy, or an unfocused group. It could just be like you as people are not focused. So just pause the session, recenter your intention, or just end it if it's doesn't feel right.
The vibes are off.
Yeah. If there's a sudden change in atmosphere, like flickering lights, cold spots, shadows, or electronic interference, that's a manifestation of energy possibly building towards something. So be alert, respectful, cautious, end the session if anyone feels unsafe. If there's unexplained emotional shifts, like someone becomes suddenly angry, terrified, or emotional without cause, just out of the blue, entities may be attempting to influence or feed off of emotional energy. So in that case, stop immediately. Ground yourself in the group with deep breathing or protection rituals if you have those.
Yeah,
just like start taking some deep breaths. You're done. And then personal threats or dark messages. If the board spells out threats, mentions death, or targets someone specifically, stop, do not provoke, close the session, and clear the space.
Yikes.
You probably got to you need to get some sage or some equivalent incense or something going. Like open the windows, clean that bitch out. Yeah. So yeah, that's a Ouija board. Whether you're lighting candles or just hoping something answers back, the Ouija board, like the rest, demands intention, boundaries, and a solid grasp on when to shut it down. So far, we've covered tools that are equal parts spiritual and psychological Rorschach tests. Believe in them or not, they've shaped how people chase the unseen. So coming up next, the gadgets, the meters, the frequencies, and whether your K2 is actually just reacting to your phone. So stay tuned for the next segment.
Wow. Very cool series.
Yeah, I thought it would be fun. I was like, I want to learn more. Other people might want to learn more. Let's fucking do it together.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. That was fun.
So I was inspired by, we talked about it in the last episode, Annabelle.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was like on tour and then she went missing. And I was like, just so into it. And I got some really funny TikTok videos because of it. But that just led me down this whole rabbit hole about Ed and Lorraine Warren, which I also love the Conjuring series movies. Like I love them. I love Patrick Wilson. I have a big old crush on him.
Oh, he's so good in those.
Oh, I love him so much. He's our scream king. So we today are going to learn about the Southend Werewolf that Ed and Lorraine worked on, and it's one of their more bizarre cases because a lot of them are like to me 100% like, oh my gosh, like yes, like that was a demon. That was
Yeah.
whatever. So this one I had never heard of before, but I did some
Yeah, I've
research.
never heard of this either.
So there are a few tales in the paranormal world as strange, unsettling, and outright wild as the story of Bill Ramsey, better known to fans of the unexplained as the Southend Werewolf.
Oh.
At first glance, this case sounds too far-fetched to take seriously. Honestly, I was one of them. I was like, what the hell? And it's part urban legend, part horror movie. But I'm like, maybe they should make this into a movie. So yes, at first this sounds like part urban legend, part horror movie. And it is about a man possessed by the spirit of a werewolf in modern-day England. We'll see. And yet, it's a case that world-renowned demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren took so seriously. They flew Bill across the Atlantic to perform an exorcism in Connecticut.
They flew the werewolf across the Atlantic?
Yes.
Is that safe for the people on the plane?
Who knows?
What the fuck?
This wasn't one of their haunted dolls or ghost in the basement investigations. This was something different, something primal. And, as they would later say, one of the most baffling cases they ever encountered. So, to understand how bizarre this story is, we need to go back to where it all began, which was a small English town in the early 1950s. Just set the scene.
Okay.
So, in 1952, Bill Ramsey was just 9 years old, living in a quiet little life in Southend on Sea. But, okay, so I don't know if that's, like, pronounced differently if you're English. But I'm American, so I'm Southend on Sea. Okay, I don't know if they say South.
Sounds right.
I don't know what else they would say. It was a
Try to
coastal
say it
town.
British.
So, well, I don't know if like Southend, because it's spelled with one word.
You're right.
Southend. Anyways,
Southend?
Southend.
I see what you're saying now.
You see, Okay, but anyway.
Yeah. I
we're
can
gonna
see
say
it going that way.
Southend on Sea, because
I love it.
from North Texas.
We're making the American decision.
It's terrible. I don't want to. Anyways, I don't want to sound foolish. Either way, I'm going to sound foolish.
Just own it.
It's a coastal town in Essex, England, and by all accounts, he was a normal kid. He was cheerful, imaginative, and friendly. But one summer afternoon, something super strange happened. Bill was playing in his backyard when he suddenly was overwhelmed by a sensation he would never forget. It began as an intense chill, unnatural, as though the temperature had dropped 10 degrees in an instant. A putrid smell filled his nostrils, something like garbage, blood, and wet fur all rolled into one. Then came the rage. Bill, a small child by any standard, suddenly felt surging strength. Anger so intense it overwhelmed his senses. He claimed his heart pounded like a drum in his chest and his vision blurred, and he was consumed by the overwhelming urge to tear, bite, and fight.
Oh
Sounds
my
like
God.
me on my period.
Is he just going through puberty? Like, what the fuck?
Know. He's 9. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Early puberty.
Without thinking, he grabbed a wooden fence post in his yard and ripped it from the ground with his bare hands. So I don't think this is puberty. So
Bullshit.
His parents were stunned, and the strength that Bill displayed was frightening, even dangerous. Then, as quickly as it came, it vanished. Bill returned to himself. He was confused, disoriented, and scared. And when he tried to explain what had happened, all he could say was that it felt like something else had taken over.
Wow.
And that same night, the nightmares began. And they would follow him into adulthood. Visions of snarling wolves, fangs flashing in the dark, hunting, chasing, howling. Sometimes he was the prey, but more often he was the wolf. So.
Wow.
And then for several decades, Bill lived a relatively normal life. He became a carpenter, got married, had children. The dreams and like the very visceral nightmares, they faded. But that terrifying childhood episode became more of a family antidote than like an omen, right? And whatever had happened that day seemed to just have passed. It was a fluke. But then in the early 1980s, so we started in the 50s, now it's the 80s, something began to stir again. Bill started having these episodes that were strange, violent incidences that he couldn't explain and often couldn't even remember. In 1983, during a night out with his friends, the old sensations returned. The cold, the smell, the rising fury.
Oh no, not with your friends.
While in the backseat of a taxi,
that sounds terrible. He's going to flip the taxi.
He turned on one of his friends and bit him on the leg. Not in
no,
a
you
playful...
froze.
Yeah.
Wait. Say that again because you froze.
Okay, he turned on one of his friends and bit him on the leg, and not in a playful scuffle. It was a full-on animalistic attack. It
Oh my God.
took multiple men to hold him down
Holy fuck.
from gnawing into his friend. Okay, so that should have been a wake-up call, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't a one-time event. Soon, Ramsey found himself plagued by these transformations. He'd fall into
Wow.
rages he had no memory of. He began growling, snarling, and exhibiting what some described as beast-like behavior. His hands would curl into claws, his back hunched, his teeth bared, and in some cases he displayed unnatural strength, like when he was a kid ripping up that fence post.
Yeah.
So in one well-documented instance, he had to be restrained by several police officers after an outburst that left people injured.
Oh my God.
Another time, wait, oh, that's Steven. Hold on, pause.
Pause.
Another time, he tried to attack a nurse at a hospital.
Of course he did. We're always attacked.
And through it all, there was no medical explanation to explain any of it.
Oh my God.
Doctors ran tests, there were brain scans, blood work, psychiatric evaluations, but no signs of schizophrenia, no signs of neurological orders, nothing that could explain the periodic and increasingly violent transformations.
Oh my God.
So at this point, the British tabloids got involved. Stories of the man who turned into a werewolf circulated with grainy photos and quotes from frightened witnesses. Some people laughed it off, others were scared, but among those watching from afar in a different continent entirely were two people who were not laughing. Enter Ed and Lorraine Warren. Yeah, when the two of them were in London for a lecture tour, they were introduced to Bill Ramsey's story, and the Warrens were no strangers to the strange, obviously.
Yeah.
They had investigated cases like the Amityville Horror, the Perron family. I don't know how that's pronounced, but that was
The
inspiration behind Perron family. I
Yeah.
was like, it's the movie The Conjuring. I just can't remember how they pronounced it.
Yeah.
And of course, our dear friend Annabelle, MIA Annabelle. She's fine. She's there. We know where she's
She's
at now.
fine, apparently.
But even for them, the Ramsey case stood out. So to Ed and Lorraine, this wasn't just a case of psychosis or animalistic delusion. They believed that
Yeah.
Bill was suffering from a form of demonic possession.
Oh my God.
Yep. One that had latched onto him as a child and was now taking full control, or trying to.
What the fuck?
They contacted him directly and offered help, not with medicine or therapy, but with the rite of exorcism. Astonishingly, Bill was like, let's do it. Let's do it. So that's when he flew to the United States in 1989, when our Lord and Savior Taylor Swift was born.
Oh shit!
Accompanied by the Warrens, and was taken to Our Lady of the Rosary Chapel in Monroe, Connecticut, where Bishop Robert McKenna, an independent Catholic bishop known for performing traditional exorcisms, was waiting. The ritual was scheduled for July 28th. During the ceremony, witnesses reported dramatic changes in Bill's behavior. He snarled and snapped at the air, which, my dog does that, okay? His posture shifted, his face twisted into what Lorraine described as a contorted beast-like expression. And Lorraine's seen some shit.
Yeah. She would know.
He was thrashing, resisting, growling, and at one point, his eyes, according to those present, appeared completely black. And then
Jesus.
It was just still.
Wow.
The violence drained from him, his breathing slowed, and he became calm. And the exorcism was over. And the werewolf was gone. Following that exorcism, Bill Ramsey never experienced another violent episode. He returned to England, resumed his life, and even appeared on a few television programs, including the early 90s paranormal series Sightings, where he calmly discussed his experience.
Oh my God.
He didn't claim to be cured by science or therapy or time. He believed wholeheartedly that the exorcism had worked. And to the Warrens, this case was proof that evil didn't always wear the same face. Sometimes it looked like a haunted doll. Sometimes it lived in a basement. And sometimes it lived inside a man just waiting to wolf out. Okay? So, what happened to Bill Ramsey? Was he mentally ill in a way that just eluded all diagnoses? Did he suffer from a rare psychological disorder, clinical, you probably know this word. What is clinical lycanthropy?
I actually don't know that word.
Lycanthropy? It's a delusion where a person believes they can turn into a wolf.
Oh,
Kinda
that thing.
niche.
Yeah.
Don't know
just
if you've ever
one.
come across that.
Yeah.
Or was he just reacting to decades-old trauma from childhood? Was there something very spiritual and deeper? Or, was he possessed? So we talk about skeptics. They're quick to point out that the werewolf concept is loaded with myth and cultural imagery, sure.
Yeah.
It's an easy template for fear, but that is what makes the case so fascinating for believers and also Ed and Lorraine. Because, you know, that begs the question of like, is the mind powerful enough to create monsters, or do you
Yeah.
have to be vulnerable and open to something like that happening? But yeah, so the case of the Southend, whatever,
Southern.
werewolf remains one of the most unusual entries in the Warrens' long history of paranormal investigations.
I have
And
never heard that.
I know. And whether you believe in demons or think it's all in Bill's head, there's one thing for certain. Something inside him was real enough to terrify friends, family, law enforcement, and even himself. And after one
Oh,
terrifying exorcism in 1989, it never came back.
that's crazy because like it came and went
Yeah.
before. Like he had the episodes and it would go away and he'd be fine.
Yep.
But I would have been so nervous.
Oh no, you're
Like, how do you
fine.
know that they got it except
Oh, there you go.
for like just waiting and see? Like, just to wait and see. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's terrifying.
Yeah.
But he never had another episode.
Never
I'm
had it after that.
What the fuck? How do they even know how to target a werewolf type entity?
I
Is my
don't,
question.
and I don't know if that was just how he reacted to whatever was attached to him.
Yeah. So I wonder
Um,
if it's just like a blanket.
yeah, yeah, or if that was maybe it was his way of resisting whatever that spirit was
Maybe.
trying to possess him, and that's just like the only logical. I mean, I say logical very loosely, logical
Yeah.
thing that like you know, I don't know if that's just something easy for the mind to grab onto, like the lore that we know. We're like, oh, we know the story of a werewolf. That's what that reminds me of, right? But anyway, I just thought that was crazy, and I hadn't heard anything about that because you hear about the big
Yeah.
ones with Ed and Lorraine, but that one
Yeah.
seemed to be one that they kind of like saw out and was like, which makes me really interested because I know Lorraine had a lot of like psychic kind of things. I'm like, did she
Yeah.
see something about that story before they even met him, or I don't know.
Yeah. No,
That's
that's
very cool.
wild. Yeah, I know. I wonder how they found that.
They say they were on a
Like,
lecture tour in England, and so all the tabloids at that point in time were running.
oh,
And so they were sort
yeah.
of engrossed in it and in that culture. And they're like, hey, why
Yeah.
don't you come take a little visit to Connecticut and we'll get that figured out for you. I don't know why they couldn't do it there, but
Jesus. Damn. Never heard of that case before. I'm
never heard of that
back.
case before. Fuck, yeah. Me
Damn.
either.
That's fucking crazy.
It was wild. And he kind of looks a little wolfish too.
Does he really?
I mean, just like
I bet he does. I bet he
Bill
looks so
Ramsey.
wolfy.
If you just, Ed and Lorraine, Bill Ramsey, if you just Google that, like,
God, that's so cool. What an interesting case. So, thank you guys for listening. It's kind of a long one, but it was fun.
yeah, it's informational. We're
It
all
was
going to learn
informational.
together.
We're
We're just
learning
going to create our
together.
own coven that's not doing yoga. Yeah.
We're creating our own coven. We could do yoga. Weird noise. Yeah, we could do yoga and witchcraft, and I think that's great.
I love it. But
Mhm.
yeah, again, thank you for listening. Follow us
Thank
on
you guys for
everything.
listening.
We're
On
on
everything.
Instagram. We're on TikTok.
We're on YouTube.
We're on the YouTubes.
We're on the
Go follow
YouTubes.
us. Go watch us. Go leave little
Yeah.
comments.
Leave us a comment, leave us a review. We love that. We want to
Yes.
know, we want to hear from you. And if you have your own paranormal experiences, unexplained experiences, you just like some weird shit happened and you're not really sure what it was, but it's probably paranormal. If your mom has a story, send it to us. Our email is inmyhauntederaPod@gmail.com. When we collect enough of them, we'll do a whole episode dedicated to those stories. So please send them in. We'd love to hear them.
Or
We
if there's
want
anything you
them.
want us to research and
Yeah.
tell a story about, let us know. Give us
Yeah.
little comments and we'll be like,
We'd be
oh,
happy
that's a
to do
great
it.
idea. Yeah.
Ask and you shall receive. Yeah.
That would work.
But yeah, so thank you guys again, and we will see you next time.
Until then,
We'll haunt you later. I forgot what to say at the end.
we did it. We got it.
We did it. Bye.
Bye.